So this is just a short little video of a situation, just one of the types of situations that I dealt with daily. This is a secondary clarifier. So it's after the primary clarifiers do their job. It goes to the secondary clarifier, and it had jammed up. The armature, the lower armature for the clarifier jammed up, and so it was at my plant. So I went over to diagnose it, and I diagnosed the problem in about 20 minutes, and came up with a solution, and brought that solution to management, a solution which was the most cost-effective, with the least amount of downtime, and would remedy the situation probably before lunch that day. This is first thing in the morning. And they ruled against my diagnosis. And they went off the diagnosis of I believe it was the electrician supervisor. I'm not sure though. Anyway, someone who hadn't even looked at it, hadn't even come out and looked at it. So I told them they didn't need to do this, but they did it anyway. So what they did is they drained the clarifier. As you'll see in a second. So we drained the basin, and cleaned it all up. So that right there, this is a drained secondary clarifier. And as you can see, the armatures, or the armature system that drives around in a counterclockwise motion, it has sweeps on it. I don't know if you could see those sweeps, or rakes, or whatever you want to call them. And as in the center there, in the hub, it using various gear reduction and everything else, it has a giant, basically flywheel, or tooth flywheel, that is run off of chain-driven gear reduction, ring and pinion style gearboxes, very similar to an automotive gearbox or a rear differential, just horizontal, or Anyway, driven by, and it's chain driven, the pinion gear, and it's there's two of those systems, so that work in unison, and there's two electric motors that are driven off, or controlled by a VFD, and they have to work in unison. And if one motor goes bad, say electric motor seizes up or something on one side, and the other side continues to function, it will naturally bind up, because they have to be working in unison. And that's what the problem was, which I diagnosed as I walked up to the unit, because one electric motor was painted white and the other electric motor was also painted white, but it was now red because the motor got so hot before it seized, inevitably, it burned the paint. So I saw that the motor was seized, or saw that it had been seized, as I walked up to the clarifier armature drive assembly. And that is what I relayed to management. And the thing about these gear systems is there's an incredible amount of kinetic energy stored in, as you can imagine, from a gear-driven mechanism, trying to move this armature, because it's a massive armature. The weight is astronomical, and it's pushing through, mixed liquor suspended solids, to put it that way. So it's not just pushing through water; it's pushing through, water with a lot of debris in it. So, and it's also scraping against the bottom of the ground, because that concrete there is sloped. You can't really see the slope there, but it's sloped, I think, at like 3%, maybe 4% grade, 5% grade, to the center of the collector armature assembly. And that is where it goes to the, I'm not perfectly clear on the process, but I believe it goes to the sludge pumps. And then the scum that floats on top of the water is collected by, and you'll see in the video, these rake arms. You can see it in the video right there. It's at the top. It's basically just a piece of angle, or steel, that's welded to vertical pipes and painted with a caustic repellent, tar-like paint, to resist the corrosive properties of the water. And And that's what in that those arms sweep the surface of the water and collect the floatable solids like grease balls and plastics and other various things that would float right on top of the water. It's called a skimmer arm, and it sweeps the scum. That's what we call it, like the scum on top of the water. And as it sweeps around, there's a beach, we call it, that goes into a pit. And that beach is sloped. So as the arm goes around, it pushes all the floatable solids towards the ends of the rake arms. And then there's a flap that then sweeps it up the beach and dumps the scum into a pit, which goes down to a tube and goes into what we call scum pit. And that pit has like a big mixing blade in it. It's like a blender. And anyway, so I told management what the problem was, that the motor was locked up. But when the motor locked up and the other drive gear assembly continued to function, it jammed up. And when the system jams up, it has a failsafe. It's called high torque. So there's a spring with like 30,000 pounds of pressure that when that spring is compressed, it trips the electric feed to the motors. It's called going off on high torque. So, and when that happens, the electrical panels in the MCC room, which is adjacent to this clarifier, set off an alarm, which then alerts the alarm's set off there, but it's also set off in the where the SUO is and the operators on the UCOS, which is the program that is used at the plant to monitor via computer program the various activity or various functions of various implements and pumps and accessories that the plant uses to function. And then that alerts them, and then that's what inevitably gets it to me, which is the mechanic. So I, as the mechanic, am told, hey, there's a problem with secondary clarifier, it's jammed up, whatever. So I go out there and I properly diagnose it. And then I come up with a solution, which is the correct solution, which is the most streamlined, cost-effective solution for the city, and I bring that to management. And then I'm, of course, overruled. Not sure why, but not overruled by a mechanic, overruled by management. So I don't know why they hire mechanics when mechanics' diagnosis is completely disregarded. So anyway, that being the case, they assumed that the rake arms were jammed up because there was a piece of debris, like a tree branch or something, that had gotten caught under one of these sweepers, and therefore jammed up the unit, which I wasn't the case. And anyway, so they drained the basin, which I don't know how much that cost the city, or I don't know how much that's, but that's a huge basin. So they drained it to, confirm that it's not like something caught under the rake arms, which I guess whatever. But they didn't have to do any of this. But anyway, once they told me they were going to do this, I took it upon myself and made a claim made my proposal to management to, while it's drained, fix other issues that I could see would be a problem in the future. So to preemptively repair situations that I was worried about would be a problem in the future, and had been a problem at other plants. So I knew that it would be a problem here because I've seen it happen at other plants. So, and surprisingly, they agreed, which was, I was stoked about that. But anyway, it involved, well, let me play some video. And removed all the debris from the armature. And then I went down there yesterday by myself, as usual. And, which is true, by the way. I'm always, at that plant, I was by myself, I'd say 80% of the time. Because nobody works. And nobody wants to work. So when they do work, they're like, they don't want to, right? So if they're working, it's barely. We use this boom truck to lower this Genie down here. It's actually really cool. It's a towable Genie with like spy. I would love to have one, by the way. That thing's freaking awesome. If it was well maintained, which at the city it's not, because nobody does their job. wider legs. And because I have to prep the surface to weld it on this rake. See, that's the rake arm I'm talking about. See the sweep on the end of it? So what has happened at other plants is the corrosive properties of the water eat away, even with the anti-fouling paint, eat away at the metal over time, and then that, Schedule 40 pipe. It's substantial pipe. It's heavy, and over time it gets so weak because of the rust and everything. That piece falls down into the basin and then jams up the arm, and then all this has to be done again. And as you can see here in a second, you can see the damage and how extraordinary the damage is. And also, this is a little window into like, how long has it taken for this to get to this point? I mean, because we have a boat, and like if you lower the water a little bit, you can go out in the boat and repaint it with anti-caustic, to prolong the life of the steel. But this is decades of rust, of damage that I'm trying to preemptively fix it while I have the chance, because the basin's dry, so it doesn't happen again in the future. Arm. See if I can get a look at it. But this is where I had to exit yesterday because the thing ran out of juice. And the thing ran out of juice because the batteries, and when I opened the thing to look at the batteries, which I'm technically not supposed to do because I'm not, Public Works, I'm water department, and that's the mechanic shop. None of the batteries had any water in the batteries, which is part of a PM when you do a PM on a piece of equipment. I know because I'm a mechanic. And the battery and the water in the batteries, the distilled water that's supposed to be in there, was not in there. So the cells went dry and they arced together, and so they're junk. So all that work for the boom truck to lower that down there and everything and hitch that up, which I did all of that. Hitched up the Genie, pulled over, like I set up everything by myself. And then I was the one who went up in the bucket to affect the repair. That was my idea. And you get all the way up there and all the work and everything, and then the batteries are shit. And it's you know what I'm saying. As I was telescoping it, it bound up the wire. Oh yeah, and then, I'm trying to telescope it back so I can get down from the bucket because I don't have any juice. And the track arm, or the plastic track that holds all the hydraulic lines, is so brittle from the sun because none of our equipment's kept inside. It's kept out in what they call the ready line, which I call the down line, because nothing's ever ready. It splintered apart because it was so dry rotted, and it bound up the hydraulic hoses so it wouldn't move. The hydraulics, see that? So I had to exit right here, which was kind of scary because it's pretty far down. Yeah, when I say pretty far down, it's like 45 feet, 50 feet. Anyway, this right here is what I have to fix. So this rake arm, see, I ground off most of that. I don't know if you can see it very clear. Probably not. I ground off most of that to try and get it a prepped surface so I can weld a piece of plate there. And as you can see, the pipe is eaten all the way through at the water line. So I'm going to put an L bracket to the left and an L bracket to the right of that pipe, that pipe, that pipe, and then there's obviously the same situation over on the other side. But yeah, everything was going good. I had shade, and then this thing just took a shit. I don't think the batteries were good in it, but we're gonna plug it in. And when I say we're gonna plug it in, I also brought over a towable welder, to do the welding I had to do. And so, I'm planning on that morning, to plug in an extension cord to the welder, throw it down there, because it's a welder generator combo, plug in the Genie to direct power so I have juice, and then go back up there and effect repair. So just the batteries being dead, like it was a huge wrench into the works. And that's because people don't do their job. They just don't. It's not that they don't know how. They may know how, I don't know. But they don't do their job. And then this whole thing didn't even have to happen because I diagnosed the gearbox correctly, and we could have fixed it like that. But no. Like it's just fucking ridiculous. It's just on main juice. And then fire this thing up. pretty cool welder. It's like 500-foot leads. And then I'm just gonna stick weld it up like they do in Pakistan. Hopefully by the end of the day, but it's first thing in the morning. And by first thing in the morning, I mean like we've already finished morning meeting. The sun's up. So morning meeting's at like 6:15 or 6:05 or something. And then so it's probably about 7:38. And I'm all by myself. There's nobody there. And in order for me to go down there and do what I have to do, I need an attendant. I need to work the boom truck. I need someone with a CDL. I need at least another person down there because it's a confined space. You can't go into a confined space by yourself. So you need to fill out all the paperwork. You need to have the harness sheets filled out. I have to fill out a equipment sheet on the Genie. And then I also need actually like help, like manpower, right? Like I need someone on that catwalk that I'm on right now to hand me various pieces of equipment or like a grinder or a sander or whatever and all that other stuff. And then I need all the PPE. I need a respirator, because of I'm sanding off like shit, water, scum, rust on the side of a collector room. So like, I'm not going to breathe that in. So I need my SCBA mask. I need the proper filter treatment. Like it's a monumental task to do what I'm doing. It's monumental. And look, can't go in here because it's confined space. And without air monitors and an attendant. Oh yeah, air monitors. And as you can see, nobody's here but me. Nobody's there. And then you got to understand, first break is at 9 a.m. So like if it's 7:30 and nobody's there, by the time they get there, it's already, because they leave for break at 50 minutes early. So it's already morning break. And then before you know it's lunch, it's just nothing ever gets done. Nothing ever gets done unless you do what that union steward in my other video tells you to do. You just go in there and like the Wild West and start gunslinging and do all the shit yourself, which is not safe. It's not proper procedure. It's not safe. It's not right. It's ridiculous, and it's also doing the jobs of 7 people, and all those other people that should be there right now, they're all still getting paid. I don't know what they're doing or where they're at, but they're all still getting paid, and I'm the only one there. So not only did I diagnose the armature correctly, and it would have been fixed, and this wouldn't even be a problem, and overruled, but I was the one who came up with the plan to fix these armatures, or these rake arms. And then not only did I come up with a plan to fix the rake arms, I got everything together myself, like the welder and all this, and positioned everything all by myself. And so having done 90% of the job myself to get to this point, even dealing with the piece of equipment that wasn't maintained correctly because the batteries weren't kept up, I'm still this far. I'm this far. And probably nothing will get done today, in this day. I don't remember what happened, but probably nothing will get done. And then to add insult to injury, when I did finally get in there to start welding up the things, now it's the middle of the day or afternoon, and it's hotter than shit. So I got a respirator on, I got all the PPE, I got the harness, I'm clipped off to the railing, and I got a 6-inch or 8-inch angle grinder grinding off the thing, and then I'm welding it, So I have a hot work permit and all this other stuff, and it's the middle of the day, it's the afternoon, and then half the people leave at 2:30. So they had to leave at 2. So it's just, you have 15 minutes of work maybe done. And then, like I said, we're going to say, to add insult to injury, the grinder I was using out of the tool room, because there's no tool room attendant to actually check the tools, check out their, whether or not they're in good working condition or whatever. And I didn't notice that the cord on the grinder I was using had a cut in it. So while I'm doing this work or whatever, I get shocked with 120 volts because the cut in the cord arced against the basket. So it shocked me so bad that I almost dropped the grinder. And then, of course, like I knew what happened because, I'm a mechanic. And so I'm calling up to the guys at the time who were there to reset the breaker on the welder because the shock blew the breaker. And they couldn't figure it out. So with me giving them instruction, mechanics, at the top of the railing or whatever, to go to the generator and reset the breaker, which is just a button, 3 or 4 guys couldn't figure it out. So I had to then get back out. I had to lower the thing down to the ground. Or no, I couldn't lower it down to the ground because they blew the breaker. And they couldn't figure out how to reset the breaker. So I finally got them convinced to plug it into the other outlet, which was a monumental task. And once they did that, I had the power to lower the thing, go over to the ladder, come back out of the basin, go over to the welder, and press a button, and then go all the way back into just to do this. The fact that I got this job done is, it's like you have a better chance of getting mauled by a regular bear and a polar bear in the same day as you do of getting something done at this plant, because of the ineptitude, the malfeasance, the corruption, the nepotism, the favoritism, the just a lack of skill set. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's a bad person, but nobody knows what they're doing, you know? And when I got this job as a mechanic, I thought I was going to be working with mechanics, but they're not mechanics. And me being a mechanic and doing the things that mechanics do made me like the guy not to be around, you know? Because nobody wants to work. So like when you have a mechanic like me, I like to fix shit. And when I go around stuff and stuff's broken, I'm like, oh, let's fix that. But like that requires work. And the majority of the people at this place are allergic to work. They're allergic to it. They break out in hives. And it's bullshit. So this is just a small taste of the kind of shit that goes on with your money, by the way. It's your money. It's not mine. Well, I guess it is mine too, because I'm a citizen, or I'm a resident here too, but like, it's our money paying for this bullshit. And it's not right. It just isn't right. And then after all this, you know, and they refill the bed, it still doesn't work, because it's the original problem that I told it was. And then, you know, there was a big meeting of the minds on how to unjam the gearbox, and I told the electricians, I said, you have to reverse the polarity on the gearboxes and back the gearbox off to free up the jam, because it's jammed up. And it came down to me finding the O&M manual on SharePoint with the city's intranet. It came down to that. And me finding the O&M manual for this specific piece of equipment, me doing all the research, not the planner helped me, nobody, and taking a screenshot of it and underlining in red that is the manufacturer's recommended procedure on unjamming a problem like this. And I had to text that to supervision, and even then they didn't want to do it. So finally, they caved, if you want to call it that. And they're like, all right, yeah, reverse polarity or whatever, and then unbound the thing, everything was fine. But the thing is I shouldn't have even been working on the center column with that much of kinetic energy on the high torque, going off on high torque. And there's literally a sticker on the side of the panel that covers the chain-driven drive with a man getting cut in half. And it says, caution, do not work on unit if the thing's on high pressure, because there's so much kinetic energy stored. You know, if you loosen a bolt, you do this, it should just explode and just cut you in half. But the planner, the electrician, the mechanics, supervision, I mean, who else is there to go to? Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. And that's not a castigation of these people's character. I'm not saying they're bad people. They just don't know what they're doing. And this is an important component of society, wastewater treatment. I mean, it's a really important component. So I think that the people that work at these places need to know what the fuck they're doing. And by that I mean have the skill sets and the appropriate, you know, ambition and common goal to repair things and do things the right way in the least amount of time as possible to save money and to slim down the budget and everything. Like the bloated, bureaucratic bullshit that is infested, that the city municipality is infested with, is the reason and that's partly the reason why there are no mechanics there, because like you can't function as a true mechanic at a place like this, which is why I'm on at-home work assignment now for months. I've been on at-home, like the one guy who's trying to save the plant by himself. You know, he's the guy that gets sent home. The one guy that should be there. It's fucking ridiculous. And you all should know about it. So it's just the way she goes sometimes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. But like, you know, and this is just a small little this is just a little bitty baby sample into the shit that goes on there every day. And And then on top of this, I mean, I was getting harassed and bullied and ostracized. And I mean, no one would say good morning to me. No one would. I mean, I wasn't allowed to sit in the lunchroom because of a conflict with an employee. So they deemed that I had to go. Like I ate by myself. I worked most of the time by myself, even though I should have had somebody with me, but no one wanted to work with me. I worked with tools that were inadequate. I worked with a golf cart from 1986, a Cushman golf cart from 1986, which didn't work until I myself broke procedure and installed batteries at the direction of my supervisor to my own cart to get it to drive so I could do this kind of work. And it's just, I mean, I worked there 2 years, and I felt like I worked there. And even my partner at the time, if you want to call him a partner, more of a boat anchor, Andrew Chavez, he even told me one time, he goes, man, how long? I said, when I passed my probation, or my second year, he's like, you've only been here 2 years? I said, yeah. He goes, man, it seems like you've been here like 10 years. Yeah, because in 2 years, I did the work that most of those people do in 10. And that's a fact. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you disagree, I welcome your comments in the comment section, because I'm curious as to what other people's opinion or you know, their reasoning behind what they do or whatever is, because I doubt anybody can counter what I'm saying, because it's the truth, and the truth will set you free. It sent me on work assignment. That's where the truth sent me, but maybe it'll set you free. Anyway, and yeah, so there's that.